How's it going, sir? This is Cadet Griffith and Cadet Malm-Annan. We're looking at Deliverable 2-2 for the Terrorism database scenario 2. Okay, so last deliverable we set up our dashboard here, and we basically filtered all the data given to us by our instructor, and we're able to filter it based on what the user inputs for COCOM, country, or region or date, and you can select and then filter that information, that data. So as you can see here, we have the Philippines and we have the dates between 2000 and 2014, and if we go to my data, we have 2000 all the way to 2014. Also, you'll notice over in this column, column J, we have everything is in the Philippines, and that's based on the country Philippines. So now the we have filtered this data, but still this table is pretty large, and for the user, it's pretty difficult to take a look at all these rows and kind of extract a conclusion or an understanding from it. So what we did is, this button clears the data. What we've done is we are going to create 6 different charts using VBA code. Let's take a look at that code. So we have pivot 1. So a pivot table basically extrapolates data, and then it combines the data into a form that you can build charts off of: pie charts, line graphs, bar charts, all sorts of things that are visuals that people could understand. We use record macros to formulate the pivot 1 tables. Basically selects the area, defines what we're working with, and then builds and formats the chart, and then specifically moves the chart to the desired location. And we did that for pivot 1, pivot 2, pivot 3, and as you can see, all these. Now, these pivot tables all have unique functions, if you will, in that pivot 1, let's go ahead and run the pivot tables real quick. So I'll pick chart data. So it creates these graphs. We have the data in all the Philippines data kind of visualized here by target type, attack type here, total attacks per month, weapon type, fatalities and casualties by type, and then fatalities and casualties per month. Now let's take a look. This is pivot table 1. So based on the data in the My Data sheet that's copied from the filters, it puts it into a pivot table using the VBA code that we wrote using record macros, and it puts this it gives us this table right here, which then we can use code in VBA to create a pie chart and then move that pie chart to our dashboard right here. And we did that with 6 different tables. Now the reason that we want to do this is because it's very difficult for a user to we want to minimize the amount of buttons, and we want to maximize the amount of capabilities that our dashboard has. And by creating code, this gives us only 2 buttons that we're really looking at, and then but it gives us a lot of valuable information that we can then kind of base get a better understanding of what's going on in the Philippines during this time period in regard to terrorist activity. Our overall approach to the design has been to use this dashboard and then kind of set up different sheets and then have the chart show up in these sheets right in this area, and then move that chart over to the dashboard. Sir, I've been working on a more aesthetic and easier to work with dashboard, which will probably be released in our 3rd deliverable, but for now we're going to continue using this dashboard. Strengths and weaknesses. Definitely a strength is the record macro feature. The code for in our VBA really allows for, if we wrote this code out, it would be much shorter. However, with the record macros feature, we were able to really hone in on the specific formatting if we want to change the formatting. Once we put this into a PowerPoint and we're presenting it to a battalion commander or brigade commander or whatever, this formatting might come into play. Weaknesses would definitely be the dashboard itself. There's a lot going on here and it's kind of confusing, but we're going to clean that up in our next deliverable. Future work. We could merge all of our buttons, all of our filter buttons, so that it minimizes the user interface, like the user activity that it has with the dashboard. However, personally, if I was using this dashboard, I would probably want 3 buttons: a filter button, a chart button, like show graphs button, and then a clear button. That gives us 3 options, and logically you could kind of make the assumption of how the dashboard works and gives the user a little bit of his own intuition. And as I said, sir, in deliverable 3 we'll be using a different dashboard. However, for this deliverable we're looking at this one right here. We did have some documentation. Cadet Molchalt E2, Class 17. Assistance was given to the author. Oral discussion. He went to Cadet Malm-Annan's room to kind of talk through some of the record macros function and create the functions that allowed us to move the charts and develop the pivot tables over into our dashboard sheet. That concludes our brief. Again, this is Cadet Griffith, deliverable 2-2 for the Terrorism database. Thank you, sir.